All jokes aside, actually, believe in your dreams. These pictures are not fake. I don't need to go to college. Why? Because college is for robots. So, okay, you go to college. You're gonna be an engineer. What, 250K a year? Okay, is that enough? Not really. You're gonna be an assistant, $65,000. I'm not accurate here, but you gotta be a fucking entrepreneur. We live in a society where internet is free for everybody. You can do anything. Be original, hustle, work, run Instagram accounts, be a social media manager. Whatever you're good at, go and kill it. Reading books would change my life. And I'm telling you guys, you need to start reading books. If you don't like to read like me, Audible, audible.com. It's not a brand deal. Books changed my life. I might have more money than you. You might have more money than me. Doesn't fucking matter. It's who works the hardest. I highly recommend reading books. And like I said, do not give up. The way I started thinking, it's all about action. Before I would leave it on tomorrow. From Monday to Sunday, I would say tomorrow, I'll do everything on Sunday. Sunday, I would have 17 things to do. And I will only do 3. And I'm like, can't do it. Now, action. I'm showing off right now, but this is all about motivation. My blood work is 100%. I go to the doctor every single month. I'm doing them super safely. And you can talk shit all you want. Testosterone. If you try to take testosterone, it's not like you just inject and become looking like Arnold or whatever. Discipline. I've been doing 1 hour of cardio every single day. Level 15, speed 3, no handlebars, listening to my book. This is not to show off, you guys. This is just, it's been a dream of mine since I started at YouTube since 2011. I said, I want to be able to do these things. And if I worked hard enough, I am going to be able to do these things. I worked hard for this. I visioned this. And now I get to travel to the places that I never thought I'll be able to travel. It's my life, my choice. If I want to do testosterone, I fucking do testosterone. Hate all you want. And I'm not showing off. I'm just saying, like, when people try to stop you from your dreams, tell them to go f themselves. Why? Because you know how many of my best friends told me, ha, you're gonna be a YouTuber. Ha, you're gonna do this. Prove them all wrong. What are they doing right now with their lives? 7 years later, or 8 years later since they started. Same jobs, living with their parents.
A jogger goes by, he jumps out of the bushes and just starts beating this jogger, right? It was unbelievable. This story came out on TMZ. We're like, this can't be true.
Your boy can stay back there. Put your hand on the car, man. Put your hands back.
Steroids get a bad rap. A lot of people think, oh, you take it and you go fucking mental, and you know, you're gonna randomly want to beat the shit out of people that you wouldn't have otherwise, or you're going to have a temper when you're normally, you know, a very calm and reasonable person. You're just gonna start, you know, getting into bar fights. You're gonna get in fights with your girlfriend.
Who is your ex-boyfriend?
Vitaly, the
Vitaly.
infamous. He's a very smart guy himself.
So, I mean, he's a genius. I mean, it would literally be like, he would tell me an idea and he could tell you exactly how well it's going to do, how many views it's going to get. And he's just so creative and he goes above and beyond on everything he does. Like, he's very committed. So, I mean, he's just a great person too.
Who broke up with who and why then? You guys sound like you're the same person.
Just our paths were going in different directions.
Kind of grew.
Yeah, and I wanted, you know, to focus on myself. And so we obviously had some bumps in the road at the end, but I broke up with him.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Was that hurt his ego? Like, was it like, what? What do you mean you're breaking up with me?
Well, I mean, he made some mistakes, you know, so like he knew.
A lot of guys do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, it really does not work like that. There's so many misconceptions around how steroids work and how they impact mental processes, and the psychoactive effects they have are more so just something that exaggerates your current personality. So if you're naturally a dickhead human and you take a bunch of gear, what's going to happen? You'll probably become a bit more of a dickhead.
Oh, you? You want me to fight you?
However, if you're normally a calm and very nice person and, you know, very irrational, very reasonable, don't lash out, and you take a whole bunch of gear, you might get a bit more on edge by certain individuals in certain situations, but it's not going to take you from calm and reasonable to mentally fucking insane where you assault somebody on the side of the street for no good reason. because I've seen some guys who just, even naturally they have issues with their own personality just as a natural, and you throw Trent into the mix and they become a bit of a fucking psychopath.
How do you want to do this? Okay. Get up. I'm not. And sit in there. Okay. Get up. Listen to this. And sit in there. Okay, listen.
Stop resisting.
Guys, I'm trying to tell you something.
More than 20 years ago, I showed up at a political event hosted by the Green Party of Canada. Here we are in the year 2021, more than 20 years later, and believe it or not, still to this day, the number one issue that the Green Party is internally divided about, that it is tearing itself apart over, is anti-Semitism. Was at this Green Party event as a much younger man. And I didn't think I was naive. I thought I was worldly. I thought I was well-informed. I was a political science major in college, and I was still very much attending university classes at that time. Aspiring ecological activist and what have you. Interested in making the world a better place. And this conventionally good-looking, somewhat nondescript, white, middle-class Canadian woman approaches me and starts talking to me. And within just a few words, she reveals that she is somewhere on the spectrum between Nazi and neo-Nazi. And what she had to say to me wasn't subtle. It wasn't using code words. She was talking about Adolf Hitler directly to my face. And my appearance, even though this is more than 20 years ago, wasn't so much different from what it is now. It's possible she was emboldened because I am a 6'3", somewhat scary-looking bald guy, and it did not occur to her to question that I might in fact be ethnically Jewish. But even if I were not ethnically Jewish, it would be pretty hard for her to recruit me to her side, to bring me over to her way of thinking. But I got to say, I was so much younger then, and you think you're prepared for this sort of thing as a young man, and you're not. It took me hours to process it. Like several hours later, you're still reflecting on it, and it just blows your mind. I mean, I had just met a real, living, breathing neo-Nazi. A scenario that I'd seen played out on Seinfeld, a TV show, a comedy. I'd probably seen sketch comedy about this, things like Saturday Night Live. I'd seen different, frankly, Jewish, Hollywood, American movies joking about this from different angles. And there you are living it. And, you have kind of the grandiosity of the political pretensions of the Green Party, of ecology as a concept and a movement. You have the whole discourse about saving the world being suddenly contrasted to the unbelievable pettiness of the sort of personal grudge that motivates someone to become anti-Semitic, to become racist, to hate black people, and have that motivate their own peculiar form of, political activism. It was a really weird, really jarring experience. And obviously nothing in my education prepared me for that. And it should. It should. You go and you study political science university. You should really be prepared for the fact that, look, if you want to do politics involves people of sincere conviction. And their convictions destroy their own lives, and often enough, the lives of others. The people you meet who have these convictions, whether they be neo-Nazis or hardline communists, you can reassure yourself with the thought, oh, well, how many of them will still believe this stuff 5 years from now? Like, how many of them will just grow out of it? You know what's a scarier thought? How many of them are still going to be alive 5 years from now? How many of them are going to be dead one way or another because what it is they believe, what it is they preach, all the other aspects of the lifestyle that are concomitant with, that are somehow directly or indirectly bound up with their commitment to that ideology. Now, there was another memory I have, which is a very different turning point in my life from when I really first got involved with the internet, when I first got involved with what we now call social media. And I'll just say, I used to live in Cambodia. I used to live in Laos. I had no internet access for many, many years of my life. What I did have access to was email. So before, when I'm saying the part of my life where I got involved with the internet and social media, I had never used Facebook even. I never used MySpace. I'd used email for years and years and years. And I went out to the jungle and had this wonderful, rewarding, interesting life. But I was really offline. So I was already an old man when I started getting serious about social media and the internet in this sense, moving beyond email. And I thought I was prepared. I thought I was cynical. And I was wrong. I joined an atheist activist group on the internet. So they sometimes call themselves atheist activists, secular activists, but people who are supposedly fighting for a world without religion. And I said, very discreetly and very politely, because I was at that time already a former scholar of Buddhism. I'd studied Buddhism for 10 years. I'd studied the language. I lived up there. I'd done humanitarian work, led this very interesting life in Theravada, Southeast Asia. I had real expertise that might make me a valuable asset to any group of sincere atheist activists, secular activists. You could have me come as a guest speaker and really talk about what's wrong with Buddhism. And there are not that many people around who can and will talk about that, in contrast to the criticism directed towards Christianity, Islam, etc. And I said, in a fairly friendly and upbeat way, that I am an atheist, but, atheism is insufficient. Atheism is just the rejection of the belief in God. And like a lot of what we deal with in Buddhism is the belief in ghosts. It's the belief in meditation. It's the belief that your ancestors are worshiping you. And a lot of what we deal with in Southeast Asia is the belief in communism, the belief in Marxism. My point being, there are all kinds of beliefs, supernatural and natural, some overtly irrational, some seemingly rational, but in fact irrational. Not all of them being identified in our culture as religious per se. There are all kinds of beliefs we have to challenge, we have to change, we have to overturn, and that the narrow definition of what you're doing as atheism is actually an encumbrance. Atheism is, in this sense, insufficient. I got this long, boisterous, self-confident email denouncing me. One of the members of the group, and they weren't just denouncing me, they were defending communism. They were defending Joseph Stalin. They were defending Mao Zedong. And they were claiming that I didn't know what I was talking about. They were attributing all these positive redeeming qualities to communism. Now, there's a sense in which I was prepared for this. And I remember I wrote back in a very self-confident way and said, look, you've said I don't know anything about communism. Okay, let me tell you. let me break down for you just over how many years and what kind of life experience and what kind of... Let me explain to you just how much expertise I've got about communism. I knew I was many levels above this person's knowledge of the history of communism, just as I was many levels above them in the knowledge of, Buddhism. And it's needless to say, there are always people who identify as atheists who want to defend yoga and want to defend transcendental meditation. This is just as self-defeating as calling yourself an atheist or a secular activist, but trying to defend prayer. Like, you don't believe in God, but you still believe in prayer. Really? Really? So, there was a sense in which I was prepared to have that conversation. But there was another sense in which I was really totally, utterly unprepared. Just like the encounter with the neo-Nazi, at the Green Party. So many of us define our lives within the dotted lines of unexamined and unnamed beliefs. If you're born and raised Muslim, your parents and grandparents are Muslim, at least your beliefs have a name. At least they have lines and limits everyone can recognize, and that you can therefore identify, analyze, and rebel against. You know what it is you're expected to obey, but you also know how, when the time comes, to reject it, to repudiate it. Right? Most of these people, whatever they call themselves, whether or not they call themselves atheists, they believe in things. They are ruled by things they cannot name, but also cannot ignore. They obey without knowing what it is they obey. They obey without knowing why they obey. And they obey without any clear sense of consequence, like the myth of heaven and the myth of hell. What's dangerous in our time is not insanity. It's the extent to which insanity comes to be perceived as sanity. It's the extent to which flagrant evils come to be perceived as normal and go unchallenged in our lives as individuals, in our lives as a polity, in our lives as a society. What does it mean to believe in steroids? What does it mean to believe in living your best life? What does it mean to believe in yourself? These vague notions, people commit to them without knowing what it is they commit to. And I'm saying to you now, whether you look around YouTube or whether you look around the people you know directly in your own life, really ask yourself, how many of these people are still going to be alive just 5 years from now?
I don't want to talk about it. I don't really ever want to talk about it, but I feel like I have to address it, because if I don't address it, you guys are going to be like, what the fuck? You literally just made a video talking about getting a house, getting married, and having kids. So like, where did he go? Where did he go? I don't know.
And honestly, this conditioned some form of narcissism within me, like a grandiosity and the excitement, and just this vicious coldness and the chaos. It was both.
Been having issues with depression lately for the last couple months. I've fallen into that trap of thinking, if I get something, if I buy something, if I make more money, I'll fill some sort of void inside myself. The next toy, the next video game, try to find something that will stimulate me to get me out of this suicidal depression.
It's been a while since I've had depression that's been this debilitating.
Today is the very first day that Max has ever seen sunshine.
I suffer from borderline personality disorder, which is probably the worst thing in the world, and I fucking hate it, and I wish I could change it. And in September, I started taking a new cocktail, including trazodone, Cipralex in the morning, which is like an SSRI. What's called? Aripiprazole.
So I did a bit of an experiment where I used a picture of me where I've got no hair and I've got facial hair and I've even removed my glasses. And I used that on my Tinder profile dating app. And I got way more matches using that fake picture where I'm bald and I have a beard, which to me is just really a big surprise because I always thought, you know, being bald is unattractive.